TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Hey gang, welcome in. Welcome to Inside the Batter's Box. My name is Scott Webb, and we had a pretty good day yesterday. So those of you who were on the show yesterday, we gave out I give out stuff all the time, but we played 3 games yesterday on the show. We did Texas team total over 4.5. Of course, they go out and score 4 runs in the first 3 innings and had to wait till like the 8th inning to score the 5th run, but they got there. We gave out Seattle first 5 minus a half a run. That was a no problem game. And we gave out San Francisco over 3.5 yesterday, team total, and that was a wild game because they took the lead there for a while. We're ahead 1-0, and then Toronto hit a home run, made it 3-1. So that was kind of good news because then San Francisco had to try to tie the game at 3. But so they got one more in the 8th, made it 3-2 in the 8th inning, and then they squeaked one. They had 2 outs. They had a guy on second base, and they sneaked a little squibber through the infield, got the guy from second base home, and then ended up with a guy on third base. Wild pitch, scored a run, made it 4-3, and they won the game. And we got our team total over. So we were 3-0 yesterday. So that's a fun way to end your night, right? So that doesn't always work out that way, and sometimes you're on the back end of those things. Hey, Daniel Barry, how you doing, brother? I appreciate you being on and communicating here with us. So it's one of these deals where today's slated games, sometimes my Webby odds, my numbers come back and they say, hey, you should look at this game, that game, and this game. So I do those things. I had a list today. My numbers came back with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they came back with 10 games to look at, and I thought that's quite a bit, especially when there's 17 games today. So then you have to go and say, well, I can't play those 10 games, right? So you got to start narrowing things down and start looking at it and weeding them out. And then I found it to be sometimes a little poor. And what I mean by that is, if my Webby odds comes back and it says, hey, look, you're supposed to play Cincinnati today at minus 175 odds because your odds are better, you're still buying them on sale, but I don't want to spend 175. So then you got to try to figure out what's the better way to play them and all this stuff. And you really have to dig deep to try to find plays sometimes. And other times things just stick out at you, Sometimes you get a play that, it's minus whatever and boom, boom, boom. And okay, that's fine. I'm good with that because my number said this and the value is great. And EV positive is super. So today's slate was kind of difficult because it produced a lot of things that, like Houston and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to play those games. And I've got to figure out other avenues. So there was some real thought going into today's board. So I want to go over the first game real quick because it's an earlier start, and then we'll kind of go into some other stuff and then some other games. So the first game that I'm going to give out today, I think this goes back to the kind of focus that we've had here for the last few days, which is targeting pitchers. And I call them bad pitchers, but targeting pitchers who are not being able to control the opponent's offense. And this one's going to be a little bit more probably surprising than what people think, but I like it. and I'm going to explain to you why in a second. This is the Baltimore Orioles game, and this is against the Chicago Cubs. So there's two things here. One, I don't think you can hold the Orioles offense for a whole series, and so I get it. You got Imanaga on the mound for the Cubs, and he's been good. But at the same time that he's been good, I bet against him last week and won. And in this particular case, I think you bet against him again. Now you got to figure out how to do it and why to do it and what to do here, because I think the line's too high for me to jump on and go, hey, I want to pay minus 160, whatever it is for the Orioles today. But I do think you have value in this. So Imanaga, he is the the fourth or fifth worst pitcher today on SOPS plus. So that means in controlling the opponent's slugging and on-base percentage, he's like the fifth worst guy. His number is 128. So that means he's 28% worse than an average pitcher. And that's over the last 28 days. Because if you take it and you look at him over the course of the full season, he's an 83, which means he's 17% better than an average pitcher. So that's food for thought, too, for looking at things in time segments that are shorter than over the season. Because then you can find certain spots where you can find where a guy, has hit the summer doldrums, so to speak, and he struggles. So his big issue has been, that he was great. Nobody's seen him. They don't know what to do. Well, there's a lot of film on him now, and there's a lot of reports out there on what he throws and how the ball moves. Now, of course, the Orioles haven't seen him, stepped in the box and seen it. But here's what I would say. In looking at the breakdown of the game, Imanaga has a WPA year-to-date of 1.10. So that's really good. He's over one. He's in the positive. That means all of those pitches and all of those positive things he's doing add up way more than the negative ones. But over the last 30 days, he's a minus. He's not a minus a lot, but he's still a minus. So he's worse than the average pitcher when it comes to that. So he's making a lot of mistakes. And not only is he making those mistakes, his home run rate has skyrocketed to 1.88 per 9 innings. So the mistakes are getting hit, but they're not getting hit for singles. They're getting hit for home runs. And if you're going to play Baltimore, I think that's where you're going to run into some problems, right? Because I think they're going to hit some home runs. And today, I'm pretty sure that wind is blowing out there. And we can talk about some of this in a minute. Let me write that down, wind. Because the wind's blowing out. So I think you're going to get some carry, and I think you're going to get some balls hit out. And he's not this big strikeout guy. He's an average strikeout guy. He's low walk guy. He's not a ground ball guy. He gets a lot of fly balls. So in my opinion, then that means that he's hittable, and they had a good game against Baltimore last night. I don't think you're going to shut them down over and over and over and over. Their offense is too good, and they have too many young players that variable-wise they can switch the lineup around and put some hot guys in there. So I like the idea that you play this game in the first 5 innings minus a half a run. I don't want to play the full game. I don't want to play the run line. I don't like Baltimore's bullpen. Not that I like Chicago's bullpen. I don't trust it to where you have to cover 2 runs, right? They could give up 1 and still win and be okay. So I like the idea that you play this in the first 5 innings minus the half a run. I think it's like 120, 125, something like that. That's what it was earlier. I didn't look at it right before the show, but Jeff and I were trying to work out timing on the studio, and he still had one of his guys in there, and it was time for me to get on. So it was a timing situation. So it all worked out. There was no issues. We had no problems with that, but I didn't have enough time to dig into certain things with that particular line. But I wrote it down earlier. It was minus a half of a run at minus 125. And I think that's a good value. And I think that's a good play, because I think Burns on the other side, his last start was pretty good. He's been an ace. His game score for the season is 59. Chicago hit him up a little bit yesterday. I don't expect him to do the same thing today. So I like the idea that, you get that role reversal, right? You get that little flip of, well, Baltimore's generally a better offense. They didn't hit yesterday. It's a good idea to hit them today. And a lot of times, one of your favorite things to do, or I should say one of them, one of the things that you should not be afraid to do is if you bet on a team yesterday and they didn't win, don't be afraid to bet on them today because maybe you were a day too early and what you were looking at and what your numbers showed and whatever, because you had validity to what it was that you were betting on there. So make sure that when you're doing this, that you have validity in today's game, but don't let yesterday's shortcomings affect today's possibilities, right? Because the reality is there's a lot of money to be made when teams lose and then they come back and win the next day. So don't be afraid of that. And just because you missed out doesn't mean you're going to miss out a second night, but it could if you don't play the game. So anyway, my thought is game number 1 today will be Baltimore on the run line in the first 5 innings against the Cubs today. I think that's probably pretty good. So when I looked at these things this morning, and then kind of in the afternoon and kind of break this stuff down, I had 3 pitchers in particular to target today, and one of them is J.P. Sears out of Oakland. He's got a 178 SOPS plus, so he's 78% worse than an average pitcher. Perez, Martin Perez, he's a 149, so he's 49% worse than an average pitcher. And Sassoni from Arizona, he's a 137, so he's 37% worse than an average pitcher. Imaniga made the list. He's just not in the top 3, and Kannon made the list, and he's just not in the top 3 either. So you're building a plan around something that works, right? We're going to go attack these pitchers. The other side of that too, by the way, guys, is if you have a pitcher that is like, let me flip my screen over. If you have a pitcher that's say like, we'll go with who's that? That's Sanchez today. So Sanchez is a 60. So that means he's 40% better than an average pitcher. So that role reverses, right? I'm trying to say, hey, let's go attack pitchers. Well, here's what happens sometimes. And you get to a point, and this is a perfect example of this game we're going to talk about now, is J.P. Sears, 178. 78% worse than an average pitcher. So we want to attack him. But in so doing, you have to look at it and go, well, do I have an offense that'll do that? Well, the Red Sox can do that. They scored a lot of runs yesterday. I suspect they're going to score a lot of runs today. The problem is that you got Pivetta on the mound for the Red Sox. So you're going to have to pay a big premium on this game. So how do you play it? Do you want to play the run line minus 1.5? The run line is like pick 'em right in that neighborhood. As you're going through it, I think that what you do is you go, well, if I got Pivetta on the other side, and to be honest with you, Pivetta threw a game score 84 the last time he pitched, 84. So he's going to regress tonight. So he's probably going to get hit. So I look at it and go, I got 2 pitchers that are going to get hit. So if I got 2 pitchers that are going to get hit, my better play is to play either a team total over or play the game over. Well, a lot of people like this game to go over, so I played it in a first 5 over. So I played first 5 innings. The number is 5. Play the first 5 over 5. They got to score 6 runs, and if they score 5, you get your money back. So I like that one in terms that you're picking on a bad pitcher, but in terms of how to bet it, you really can't figure out the best way to bet the Red Sox. Because if you bet the Red Sox team total, it's 5 or 5.5. You're going to have to bet 6 as a team total. And if you bet the over, it's like 10.5. So you got to be at 11. Well, they might get there. But what happens if the bullpens actually have a pretty good day today? Then they might not make it to that number. So I think if you really think about what you're doing is you've got the two starting pitchers today, and you're going, these guys probably aren't going to pitch well. And if they're not going to pitch well, I need to contain the bet to the pitchers that aren't going to pitch well. I don't know what's going to happen beyond those two guys. I just think that these guys are not going to do well. So I'm going to bet it in the first 5 innings as opposed to taking a risk of trying to figure out whether they can hit a bullpen piece or whether the weather changes or whether this happens or whatever. So I like it that way in terms of thinking through the bet as opposed to just going out and going, well, let's put them in a run line -1.5 because they might not get there. Oakland's offense right now, in terms of their offense, they rank 3rd, I think. Where is it? Yeah, they rank 3rd in offense, 6th in isolated power. They're 45% better than an average offense. And you're going to throw Pavetta out there, and yeah, he's got great stuff, but he gets hit and he walks guys. So I think they can score. So I don't know that they'll win the game, but I don't know that Boston's going to win the game either. So, it's kind of one of those spots, kind of like Texas last night, right? We bet Texas on a team total last night because we didn't know what we were getting out of Scherzer. And, he gave up 2 home runs. He gave up 4 runs. And of course, they still won the game. But if you bet them on the run line, you lost. So that's why we avoided that. We didn't want to get into trying to predict all these other things, right? There's too many things going on with trying to verify what happens in these baseball games. So if you can narrow it down to specific things that you're trying to accomplish, there's oftentimes a bet you can make based off of that. And in this case, I'm going to bet the total runs in the game over in the first 5 innings. My number that I saw earlier was 5. It's 125. That's what I bet. So I'm good with that. So that was bet number 2, by the way. I think we're going to end up with 4 tonight, but that was bet number 2. So as we were doing this, we were talking about wind and stuff, and there's some misconceptions about wind. So there's 2 things that we got to know about weather in baseball. The first thing is wind is important to know, but it takes a lot of wind, not just a little. It takes a lot. A lot of people say, well, if it's 10 miles an hour blowing out, you got to bet over, just automatic. Don't do that. Don't do that because it takes more than 10-mile-an-hour winds to affect the ball to that degree. What affects the ball more, and you probably won't ever get an opportunity to see this anymore. They used to publish these, and now I think you have to pay for them. I don't pay for them, but I think you have to pay for it, is the humidity levels. Heat and humidity, right? So in the springtime when baseball starts, you have cold weather and you have this cold, wet air. And the cold, wet air doesn't allow the ball to fly. It actually kills the distance of the ball. So a lot of times you're going to be playing lots of unders just because of that, let alone the 30-degree weather where they're out there freezing their hands and don't even want to hit the ball because it hurts their fingertips and stuff. So when it heats up, it's lighter humidity, or its humidity is still high, but it's the ball is lighter, it carries farther, and the hot air moves it, so it actually carries it. It lets it go. It's almost like playing in an elevated city where the stadium is higher. So look for 90-degree weather or above, and when you're looking at wind, it's got to be 15 miles an hour plus, not 10, 15. If you see where it's 15 miles an hour plus, you can start looking at, well, the runs are probably going to be impacted because of the amount of wind that's there. And if I look at this right, I'm pretty sure I did this earlier today. I don't know. We'll have to see if maybe, where's that? There it is. Maybe the weather's changed a little bit to the point where maybe it's blowing more, maybe it's blowing less. I'm looking at my weather report here for like that game in particular. So the Cubs and the Orioles, that game is 90-degree weather, 94 at the start of the game, 16-mile-an-hour degrees out, and it's blowing out to left field. That's a factor that you need to put into your handicap if you do it that way. And I think that, in this particular spot, we just said, hey, we like the Orioles in the team in the first 5, and we like them because Imonic gives up home runs. Well, here we go. We got the opportunity now for that to happen. So in more of a way than normal. So I think that's good. And then, like some of these games in Detroit today, the wind's blowing out 14 miles an hour. So you got to go, oh man, that could be something that we really want to look at. Well, the temperature in Detroit at 6 o'clock is 65 degrees. That kills a lot of what we just talked about. The temperature effect is going to counteract the wind. So we don't care about that one as much. We don't really care about the Rays because the Rays are inside. I heard us all day today. So I was out in my car running around doing some errands, and I had to go. I'm looking to buy a saw, a circular saw, and a nail gun, right? So I'm going to these stores to look for this stuff, and I've got satellite radio on. I'm listening to whatever I'm listening to, but it's a sports betting show, and they're talking about the Dodgers and the Phillies, and you can't have a better hitting environment than the Phillies tonight. That's what they were saying. And if I look at it, the game starts at 88 degrees. Okay, perfect. That in Philadelphia, you don't get a lot of high 90s, so 88 is probably high. But then it drops to 84, then it drops to 82, and the wind's blowing out anywhere from 11 to 14 miles an hour. And I get it. It's a small little bandbox. It's a small little place. But they're sitting there going, man, these balls are going to fly out of here. They're going to go crazy. You got to bet over. And I'm going, do you know who's pitching tonight? Right? I mean, like, Gavin Stone has been probably the guy that saved the Dodgers rotation to this degree so far. And the guy that's pitching for the Phillies, Christopher Sanchez, has been nothing short of Cy Young type guy. So we'll see. I mean, these aren't the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, so maybe they get hit. But I would tell you that's probably not the biggest wind effect game. I think the biggest wind effect game is in New York. It's the Mets. The Mets are 17-mile-an-hour winds blowing out today. I get it. It's not 90 degrees there, but it is over 80. So I think you're going to see some balls fly there. And you got Patrick Corbin and Luis Severino, and both of those guys have been bad. They haven't been good in terms of being able to find the strike zone and get people out. So I think you. So in a roundabout way, in talking about some of the stuff that comes up in the course of handicapping and gambling on these baseball games, weather is impactful. But I would also tell you that, in my opinion, I like it better when the wind's blowing in. I want to bet unders more than I want to bet overs. I know that sounds like the worst thing in the world to sit here and root for strikeouts and root for no runs. But the reality of it is everybody wants to bet overs. They want the game to be over their total number of runs in 6 innings so that it's like, okay, look, the rest of the game's over. And that's great. And I've had those. That's fun. But at the same time as that, you're going to win more unders than you're going to win overs. And I think that the reason for that is because the public likes to bet those overs. The books know they like to bet those overs, and they shade the totals to the overs. So you're going to do a lot better betting unders, and you're going to do better finding pitchers that can control offenses and bet unders on those games. Or I like to do it where you find one of those pitchers that can control the opponent's offense, and your offense is pretty good. So instead of just playing a money line game, I like to play the run line in that spot. So even if your pitcher's minus 130, right? If you bet them at minus 1.5 on the run line, you're going to be plus 115, and you're going to win a lot of those bets, and you're going to get plus money for those because because you're thinking through the bet. You're making the bet. You decided, here's my plan. I'm going to bet this pitcher this way, and now I got to find a bet that matches it. So you found one, as opposed to just going, well, I'm just going to take the standard bet. And that's, I think, part of what we're trying to do is make sure we know what we're betting and what matches up to that bet so that you get the right one. Because there's lots of variables and lots of variations to what you can do and what you can't do. All right, so we went over 2 plays so far. We did the Baltimore Orioles in the first 5 innings, and we did the first 5 innings on the Oakland and Boston game over total runs. Now this game here is Milwaukee and Pittsburgh. Now the reason it's kind of popped up on the list is because Martin Perez, he's not very good. His let me flip to the right screens again. All these computer screens you got going on. I think I got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter. I think I got almost 10 windows open. So let me find the right one. I think that's it. So when I look at these and I look at Martin Perez is right here. So he's a 149 on SOPS plus, 49% worse than an average pitcher. This is his 3rd start. Now I know he's made more than 3 starts, but this is his 3rd start off the disabled list. So the reason I say it that way is because when I do my data and I do my numbers, if those guys come and they've missed, say, a month, 4 starts, 5 starts, so there's a gap, then I reset them. And so they're not, I don't know what they're going to be when they come off the disabled list. They might be worse, they might be better than what they were prior, but I treat them just like the brand new start of the season. They've never pitched an inning yet. And this will be his 3rd start, right? So in when we set this up, and remember when we talk about game score, I talked about this before. Game score is going to end up being the measure of how a pitcher's performance is, but we're going to utilize that score to predict what he's going to pitch today. And in other words, if you're an average, it's 50. If you're an ace, it's 60. If you're below average, it's anything below 50. So for the year, Martin Perez is a 44. So well below average, right? 44 is below average. That's not very good in game score. His last start, his first start off the disabled list, he threw a game score 23. Well, that's even worse than 44. Well, his next start was a 68. So that's what aces do. That's what the best pitchers in baseball throw. So this will be his 3rd start. So what he's done then is he's gone and said, I'm going to take my outlier low number and my outlier high number, and those are off the list now. So we're going to expect him to pitch an average game. For him, an average game is 44. That's below average. That's not good. So we're going to expect a lower performance from Martin Perez today. So that means we're going to expect the Brewers to be able to hit. And on the other side of that, you have Myers pitching for Milwaukee, and he's a rookie. He's trying to figure things out, but he's gotten a lot better. His first few starts, man, he has good stuff. His actual his pitcher plus rating is 97. 97 is just below 100. So he's obviously not elite, but his stuff rating is 87. So that means he puts the ball in the right places. He does all the right things, and he gets the outs. Martin Perez is a 74, by the way, on stuff. One of the worst pitchers in baseball. Patrick Corbin has a 71 today. So he's right in there with that guy in that realm. So when we start to think about what we're doing, we're gonna take Myers and say, we want you to pitch at least average to better. His average game score for the season is a 51. But remember, we said before, at the beginning of the season, he kind of had some rough spots. So that's why we look at it in different breakdowns. So his last time out, he threw a 44. The last 3 times he threw a 50, which kind of matches his season. and his last 7 is a 57, much closer to what an ace does. So he's been much, much better. So I like the idea that he's not going to go throw a 44 today. He's going to go throw better than that 44. He's going to throw an above average start. Martin Perez is going to be below average on his start. And when you start to look at it, you go, well, what does the offenses look like? And what capitalization, what can we do to capitalize on some of this stuff? So when you go to the offense, this is what kind of a surprising thing to me. Milwaukee's been great on offense most of the season. All their guys are hitting, but not right now. They're 23rd on offense. So they're not the greatest offense in the world. But Pittsburgh is. Pittsburgh right now is 4th in offense. They're 2nd in isolated power. So if I'm betting on Milwaukee, I really don't want my pitchers to be out there that often against that offense. I mean, if that offense is going to be that good right now, I really don't want to face it that often. But I want to capitalize on the opportunity that we have against Martin Perez. So there's 2 ways to play this game. You can play this game. Well, I guess it's not 2 ways anymore. What's the number on this game? The Milwaukee number. Bum. There it is. So Milwaukee's now minus 155. Earlier it was lower than that. So there's only one way to play this in my mind. You play the Milwaukee Brewers in the first 5 innings so that you're not batting against your offense is not batting against their offense, which is better than yours right now. So you're capitalizing on playing against Martin Perez, and you're utilizing your pitcher that's better. And the other thing that you're doing, and when you start to look at some of this stuff, you got to keep in mind there is a back half of this game. And Pittsburgh right now is number 2 in all of baseball in the bullpen. Number 2. It's kind of a shocking thing. But they have good guys back there. I mean, Bednar's good, and they've got Chapman back there, and they've got some guys that are pretty good. They've got another guy too. Can't remember what his name is, but right-hander throws 100 miles an hour too. So they got 3 guys in the back of the bullpen. They ought to be pretty good. But the bigger part of this is Milwaukee. Milwaukee's usually up in the top 10 somewhere, top 15 in terms of where they rank in bullpen. And right now, over the last 14 days, they rank dead last. They are 30th. So I don't like to have to try to win the back half of the game against an offense that's better than mine and with a bullpen that's 30th in the league. So I think the next play then becomes you take Milwaukee Brewers first 5 on the run line minus the half a run, and it's minus 115. I think that's a pretty good play. And when I tell you these things, one of the things I think people get a misnomer about is that first 5 run line. I get it. You have to cover a half a run. So in my mind, that means you just win the first 5 innings. So even if you were betting them on the money line, you're going to want to win the first 5 innings anyway. So it's really the same bet, other than if they're tied, you don't get your money back. So, for the odds, you get a greater return by playing it in the first 5 innings that way than you do by just playing money line. Unless you're trying to, I don't know, unless you're trying to do something. I don't know what you're trying to do, but there's not a whole lot of first 5 money lines that I play. Not a lot. I will play a lot more first 5 run lines than I do money lines. And I will play a lot of first 5, or I will play a lot of money lines for the full game because I think one of the things that a lot of people do is they look at the back half of the game and they don't know how to handicap bullpens. And they're just like, okay, well, whatever happens at the back end of the game is what happens at the back end of the game. And because of that, they like to play first 5s a lot. I mean, I see it on Twitter all the time. Maybe people playing first 5, and they lose. And most of that is because what they're doing is they're taking a minus 180 or minus 200 or minus whatever big favorite, and they want to cut it in and go, I want to play them in the first 5 innings and make this number more appealing to my appetite. Don't do that. Have a different plan, because we said this a couple days ago, and it's worth repeating that anytime you play the run line, in a baseball game, and you have to cover a run as opposed to the money line. The money line is based off of the team strengths and the winning percentages in the pitchers. The run line is a caveat to the total. So it has more to do with what the total is and way less to do with what the money line is. They're not coordinated. They don't go hand in hand. So when you try to make them go hand in hand, that's what the sports books love you to do, because they sit there and go, well, the reality is this guy's going to take this minus 200 and we can make it minus 140 or minus 130, and he's still going to play it, and they're still not going to cover the minus. They're still not going to win. And we can make our money. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is really have a plan with your bet, and then match your plan to bet to the bet you actually make, because there's a lot of variety out there in a baseball game. You can do all kinds of stuff, and if you really get into the nitty gritty of it, so say like this Oakland game with Boston today, you got a left-handed pitcher pitching for Oakland. Well, he's terrible at getting right-handed batters out. Matter of fact, he can't hardly get any of them out. So you might want to then go and say, well, we already like the idea that he's going to get hit. He pitched a great game last time, so he's probably going to do that again this time. We need to look at some of the right-handed batters that the Boston Red Sox have today that can take advantage of left-handed pitching. And O'Neill's the guy. Yeah, you want to look at O'Neill today if you have batter props that you want to kind of look at. He's really good against left-handed pitching. And I think that you'll find that he's the guy that will probably do well today. Devers is a left-handed hitter, so Devers is doing well for Boston right now. But I don't think that he's in a position, being a left-handed batter against a left-handed pitcher, that he's going to be a batter prop guy you want to use. Right? So my point being is that if you want to take certain things to an extreme, you can. That's what baseball does. It affords you the ability to go and say, here's my plan of attack. And then based on my plan of attack, what bets can I match up to that? And you might go deep, deep, deep. You might have 2 or 3 guys. Like I think O'Neill would be a great home run prop. I think you might find certain guys to be good, over 1.5 total base props, stuff like that. For Boston, and just load it up, right? I mean, it's your and see where you turn out. But they all got to be right-handed batters. Anyway, I think that the strategy has to be sound to what your bet is, and again, match that to a bet you want to make. Because I think a lot of people go and say, well, this is what I think, and then because of what they think, they go and just make a bet. Well, you can get it more fine-tuned than that, so you can be very specific in your handicap or your reasoning for why you want to make the bet in the first place. If it's very specific, make your bet the same way. Make those things coordinated, and then you can go as deep as you want to. We said we kind of flipped the switch the other day and said, hey, look, if you really want to make it in this business, and you want to have $100,000 bankroll, you don't walk into this thing with $100,000 bankroll. It's not how it works. There's not CEOs of companies that make $400,000, $500,000 a year that have $100,000 in their back pocket, and they're going, I'm going to go bet sports. That's not what happens. It's guys that just love it. They want to bet on it. They get the adrenaline of beating the sports book or beating the number, and then they get this whole thing about, well, what is a good bet? Well, we all know, you're not supposed to go out and bet parlays. You're not supposed to bet same game parlays. You're not supposed to do all this stuff because you don't win. Well, there's a lot of truth to that. But at the same time that there's a lot of truth to that, if you want to win $100,000, you're not going to bet enough money at a 2% return on investment minus 110 bets. You're not. You're not betting enough money in general to do that. You're going to need to really, really think about volume of bets. If you bet, and I'm just going to make this, if you bet $50 to try to win $100,000, you know how many bets you got to make to do that? And especially if your winning rate is decent, and say it's, I don't know, 55%, and you're trying to make $100,000 making $50 bets. So it's not going to work. So even if you jumped that up to $1,000 bets, that'll be really difficult, to do, to get to 100,000. So you have to take a shot, take your swing once a week, whatever it is, put a 6-leg parlay out there, put $50 on it or whatever it is. And if you hit it and you win $30,000, my God, there you go. That's part of your big bankroll. And then you can start taking that $30,000 and start doing stuff with it, right? But know what you're doing. I'm not carte blanche saying, hey, go do all this crazy bets, because sportsbooks will love you. They'll probably have the VIP guys pick up the phone and call you and go, hey, man, you're making all these great bets. We love it. We want to fly you out here and let you take a tour and all that. And they'll do all that stuff to keep you as part of their service. Because you're making the same game parlays and you're doing all that stuff. But I'm telling you, if you want to get a big bankroll, you're going to have to take a swing like that. So anyway, getting back to tonight's games, there's one more game. So I've already given out 3. Gave out Baltimore first 5 run line. We gave out Oakland, Boston first 5 over. We gave out Milwaukee first 5 run line, and now we're going to talk one last game, not time. I mean, it'll never be the last time I talk, probably, but there's some interesting things going on, and a lot of it has to do with streaks and stuff like that. So, and let me switch the screen over one more time. I want to make sure I give you the right information, because I think that's important, not to tell you something that's wrong. The Atlanta Braves play the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight. And when you look at this game, a lot of people are like, there's 2 things in play here. One, the Braves have won 4 times in a row. So if they've won 4 times in a row, they're due to lose, right? That's what everybody says. They're due to lose. And they're playing Arizona, and Arizona's lost 2 in a row now. So okay, well, I don't think that way. My job is not to go and say when a streak is going to end. I'm not predicting streak ends and streak begins, and I want to look at who's going to pitch well, who's going to pitch poorly, and can an offense take advantage, and can a team win based off of what I see. So tonight's game is Atlanta at Arizona. Now, in my premium services or whatever, we were on Atlanta last night, had a pretty good game there. Tonight, I would tell you that it's a good spot to support Atlanta again and win their 5th game in a row. Now, Sassoni is the 3rd worst pitcher today. He is a 137 when it comes to SOPS plus. And again, remember, that's how he controls the opponent's slugging percentage and on-base percentage. So that means guys are getting on base and guys are slugging, and he's 37% worse than an average pitcher, right? And if I pull up his numbers for the season, he's actually gotten a little bit better, because for the season, where is he? 137. Oh, he's clear down there. There you are. Oh, no, he's a 128. So for the season, he's 128. For the last 28 days, he's a 137. So the biggest issue for Sassoni, and I don't get into home and away splits much. You haven't really heard me ever talk about it too much. There's certain guys that are good home pitchers, and certain guys that aren't. And Nestor, nasty Nestor for Cortez, right? For the Yankees. He is much better at home than he is on the road. He's much better. His numbers reflect that. Well, Sassoni on the road is a 100 SOPS plus, straight average guy, average pitcher. At home, he's a 188. He's 88% worse at home than an average pitcher. And you got to remember he's in Arizona, so maybe his pitch mix, maybe the arsenal that he has doesn't do well in the higher altitude in the air that they have in Phoenix. So the balls fly for him, and he has struggles there, and I can see that, right? It's very vivid that he has a problem. He has a problem at home, and then over his last 5 games he's pitched, he's thrown 20 innings. Well, that's not good to begin with. It's not even five innings per start. But the worst part is he's given up 31 hits. So when you look at it from that perspective, all pitchers should either equal or be less hits allowed than innings pitched. So he's pitched 20.2 innings. He should have 20 or 19 hits. He's got 31. So guys are hitting him like crazy. And then when you flip that over and you look at it from a perspective of, well, what kind of batting average is that? Well, batting average of that is 341. Well, the league average is 240, and these guys are hitting 340 against him. His whip rate, so walks plus hits divided by innings plus by innings pitched, 1.65. So that means there's more than 1.5 guys that get on base every inning against him. So that then goes and says, well, how is that possible? Well, it says WPA. Winning percent adage is negative. It's minus 0.49, and for the season, it's minus 50. So what that means is he is, when you line up all the things that are negative in one column of bad pitch after bad pitch, bad spot, bad result, bad whatever, and then put all the good ones on the other side, he has more bad ones than he does good ones. Well, think about that for a minute. He's a professional Major League Baseball pitcher, and he has more negative bad pitches than he does good ones. So that must mean that they don't really have anybody to bring in to pitch, because he wouldn't be there. He wouldn't be pitching there. They'll give a guy a shot for a few starts, and then once this is proven to be the case, they get rid of him. Those guys don't pitch. They take them out of there. So he's in that spot. So I want to take advantage of that, right? So there's 2 things in play here. We need to figure out how do we take advantage of that, because, Morton's pitching for the other side. And what I liked about Morton pitching for the other side is I don't like Charlie Morton at his age. A couple of years ago he was fun to bet on, but right now he's too hit or miss. But he is bad start, good start, bad start, good start, bad start, good start. I mean, just like clockwork. Bad start, good start, bad start, good. I'll just write down the line. So in his last 7 starts, if I go back, so his 7th start was a game score 52, above average. So we'll say that's a good start. Next start, 37, bad start. Well, then he had a really bad start, 8. That's not very good. Then he threw a 75. So that's what happens. These guys go back and they offset these numbers. It's a human thing. So if we can utilize that human thing, we're going to be good. So that's what we look at here, right? So he threw a 75. Then he threw a 46, 46, 36. That's where he's at. He's going to throw a good game. So I like the idea that Charlie Morton throws a good game. Sassoni gets beat up again, and the Braves do well. The reason that we need him to do well is because Arizona's offense is pretty good right now. So Braves are just now waking up a little bit on offense, scoring some runs. But the public, or whoever, I say it's the public because that's who bets into this betting lines, right? This game opened. If I can get this number up, it would be great. The game opened on the lines today. Last time I pulled this up, it was dead. And there, it's not dead anymore. So Atlanta down here is the game opened Atlanta minus 135. That was what it was last night. It wasn't that way this morning. It was Atlanta minus, I don't know, 120 or something like that. Now, Sassoni's the favorite. He's anywhere from Circum at 110, Bookmaker 113. So it's flipped. So tell me why, right? We talked about this yesterday. Why does a line move if there's no injuries, if there's no lineup changes, if the pitcher didn't get swapped out? Then why is it moving? Well, I'm telling you that this is people that are going to read that and go, oh, all the heavier money is all coming in on Arizona. It's the sports books doing stuff. Sports books are out there going, hey, I got to cover this parlay with this. I got to cover this same game parlay with that. I got to cover these future bets on this and that and the other thing. So they're making the number what they want it to be. And I'm telling you that you can buy the Braves on sale. That's the way I look at it. They're on sale. They should be minus 135, and I can get them at plus even money. I got 35 cents on sale. That's the way I see it. My number in this game, if I can find my numbers over here. I got so many screens open. Atlanta, there we go. My number on this game is Atlanta minus 137. So I was going to bet them anyway. Even at minus 120, I thought there was value. And now, shit, they're on sale even bigger than that. So then it becomes, how do you play it? Well, I want to have the opportunity for the Atlanta bullpen, because the Atlanta bullpen's number one, right? Well, they're not number one anymore. They were number one. Where are they now? Atlanta bullpen. They're number 3. So I want that. And Arizona's is number 20, right? So Arizona has thrown 61 innings, and of all the teams, they've thrown the most number of innings. So Sony's probably going to go 4 innings again, right? We saw he doesn't throw 5. So they've given up the most hits, and they've given up the most home runs. Well, second most home runs. So I like the idea that we get to them. If we can get to Sony, get his pitch counts up, get the bullpen in, then all of a sudden, Atlanta's got a big edge. So I like the idea that they're going to give it to me at even money. There you go, on sale. I think that's a good play. So there you have it. Those are the 4 plays tonight. I wanted to talk about one last thing. I know we got lots of people on here, but when we're talking about sports gambling, the reason I bring it up is I refer back to the conversation we were having when the guy was talking about the Phillies and the Dodgers, and he was talking about the environment and all that stuff. And then he started talking about the pitchers, and he's like, well, what do you do about this? And what do you do about that? Look, you don't make an opinion. And I guess I'm trying to make this as clear as I can. Like when I'm doing my betting and I'm doing these things, it's all numbers based and logic based to a point where all I have to do is go, well, this is what the portrait looks like. Let me find a betting match to that picture. So I'm not guessing. Now, I may not win, but I'm not guessing at what I'm trying to do. I know exactly what I'm trying to do. So if you're out there and you're trying to figure this out and you're going, well, this team plays X, or well, in this case, the Dodgers play the Phillies, and I don't know how to rate Christopher Sanchez tonight, and what does it mean to have Schwarber and Harper back in the line. If you don't know how to relate all those things, and you're going to kind of guesstimate, and you look at the line and you go, well, that makes sense. That's a good number. I think I'm going to play it. You have no idea, right? Like I saw somebody did a big write-up on a game, and they were talking about everything but the game. It was a WNBA lineup, and because I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the WNBA stuff. Not that I watch it, but I was trying to figure out if there's betting spots there. And this guy wrote this whole thing up, and I started reading it. I'm like, bro, I can read the newspaper and go, yes, I know what their record is. I can probably look it up and find the ATS record. I can see what they did in the last game, and then because of that, this is what your bet is, right? I mean, you've got to really get to a better understanding of how to bet. So the reason I say that is because I want to say this. Sports betting is probabilities of outcomes versus the odds you're given on those outcomes. That's all it is. That's what sports betting is. So what does that mean? That means that the sports book who takes your money is going to give you a set of odds that certain things happen or don't happen. And you on the other side need to have probabilities of, hey, Marty Lowe, how are you, brother? And when you have those probabilities, you need to look to see if you're getting value to the odds you're given. So there's a website, and I'm going to give it to you. It's called aceodds.com. Aceodds.com. And hey, Marty, yeah, everything's good for me, brother. Everything's good. And aceodds.com. And the reason I'm giving you this is because they have a very good bet calculator odds converter in there. And you can type in whatever probabilities you think you have, and it turns it into a line. And that's extremely important because once you have a money line, you can do anything with it. You can take a money line and you can change the money line or probabilities or however you want to work this through that into spreads, right? You can do that. You can actually then look at odds and probabilities and go, that's step one of this whole thing. Of all this time I've just talked for 50 minutes, all of this stuff means 100% nothing if I don't already go look at it and go, that's a good bet. That's step one. That's the only step you need to learn to make. That's the most critical step that you can. I made the mistakes years ago trying to figure this out because I thought it was all about handicapping. And it's not. It's about making a good bet. And then you got to know what a good bet looks like. A good bet is when your probability of the odds happening are better and give you value to the sports book's odds they give you. Then you have to bet. And then that's the term that comes up when that happens. It's called EV positive, extra value positive. Or the other side of that is extra value negative. You don't want those. You want to make 1,000 EV positive bets. If you make EV positive bets, you will be a winning gambler. And that applies to any kind of gambling. So that applies to sports betting, but it also applies to poker. It also applies to table games or anything else that you play or do. Because the reality becomes is if you have greater probability than the odds given to you, you do it 1,000 times, those percentages catch up and you win. It's you can't beat math. It's the way it works. And so as you're doing these things, that's step number one of this whole process, whether it's football, basketball, golf, whatever, the reality becomes probability versus the odds. That's what you're betting. And you need to know what your probability is versus what the odds are given. And if they're good, that doesn't mean you necessarily go make that bet, but it does mean that's on your list. And then you vet it out. And maybe you go and say, well, because I have such great handicapping skills in comparing the two teams, because that's what handicapping is. Handicapping is team A, team B, and I'm evaluating their rosters, their coaches, the way they play, the game flows, and all the other stuff that goes along with that. And this team should beat this team by X based on that. But don't get them slurred together. Keep them separated. Your good bets, your bets have to be logical, and they have to be based all on probabilities versus the odds. And then if you want to fine tune them by using your handicapping skills, or in some cases, go and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Let's find a way. And sometimes you use your handicapping skills to find a way. So that's kind of how I do it. I'm like, I want to make this kind of a bet. I want to attack this pitcher. I think we have value in this. Let's find a way to do it. Let's find a way to bet it. And then I use my handicapping skills and the information that I have to try to find and make those things match. So anyway, long story short, make sure you know what you're doing. Glad to help. Glad to be here to do whatever is necessary to make you guys winning bettors. Love to do that. Love to participate. We got a few more. We're getting a few more people jumping in here. If you have questions, make sure you ask. If there's a game I didn't go over and it's your game that you're trying to figure out, or you want me to handicap, I'll do it right here live. I've got all the information. It's right here. I can do that. So just type in the comments. Say, hey, Scott, can you go over this game? Hey, I love that comment, or I love this, or I love that. Because ultimately, guys, we're getting a bigger following now, but it needs to keep growing. So as we're doing this, please follow me on Twitter, right? At Webby20MLB. And I know, look, guys, this is some of this stuff is, everybody's got this thing about, well, I'm not going to follow you, and you follow you back, and you do this, and look. All I'm trying to do is I want this channel to grow. To get it to grow, we need following. So part of it is follow me on Twitter, so you get information, right? So that stuff comes out. You can jump in. You can, what helps? Retweet my tweets, especially about when the shows come on and all that stuff, because we can get more followers. We get more stuff, right? So that's number one. Number two, when these shows do come on, and we have a thumbs up here from someone in Facebook, so that's great. We need the thumbs ups, the likes. Hit the likes buttons. If you're on YouTube, hit the subscription buttons and the bell and whatever. I don't know what all that stuff does. All I do know is that it helps the algorithm. It helps this thing grow, because ultimately what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to go and say, hey guys, look, Mr. Submarine Sandwich Deli Shop guy. You want to get more sandwiches? I got 1,000 people watch me every day, and 1,000 people watching me every day, they're going to come buy a sandwich from you if I bring it up. But to do that, you need to give me, $500. And if they do that, right, then I keep my website, but I open it up. It's free. It doesn't cost anything, because the money that goes from the website goes towards this. The money that goes towards advertising, and not advertising, but towards getting sponsorships and things, goes towards growing this business. So that's what we're trying to do, right? We're trying to get this thing flying and going. We got a lot of people here tonight. So thank you for that. It's awesome. Engage with me, ask me questions. Let me know what you want. If you want me to do something specific that you like or you don't like, or you want me to do something about these things, we can do that. If you want me to have a show where we just talk about sports gambling and aspects of sports gambling, we can do those things. But DM me in Twitter. Let me know what you guys want. Let me know how it goes, so we can put this stuff together, so that whatever it is you need from me, I can provide it to you, and we can get there. So let's have a good night tonight, guys. Tomorrow's Thursday. I don't normally do shows on Thursday because they're travel days, but I will say that there's a lot more games tomorrow, but there's a lot of daytime games, so I'm not going to jump on here. I will be back on Friday We'll do Friday at 6:15. So I will see you guys again on Friday, 6:15. Guys, it's been a great couple of days. We have a lot of people again on the channel right now. So please do me those favors and like, retweet, click the buttons, and do the stuff that those whatever those people are called, the people that go out and do this stuff for a living, content creators and all those kind of people do. I don't do this to create content. I'm trying to help people. So as we're doing all these things, let's have fun. Let's enjoy the games, and you know what? Let's try to win some money too. So good luck, everybody, and I will see you again on Friday.